Hey guys, welcome to Thirsty Thursday. For those of you I haven't had the absolute privilege of meeting yet, my name is Jo Goddard. I am the owner, founder, body worker here at I'm Her Women's Wellbeing, alongside some other little projects that happen as well. If you've been following along, you'll know that I recently launched a collaborative initiative with Sarah King, a relationship mentor, for some conscious dating and singles events, not strictly for monogamous focused singles event, but also inclusive of polyamorous, or basically all expressions and curiosities welcome in these spaces. And a podcast got launched as well this week, so that conversations very similar to these ones here on Thirsty Thursday can have a place to land out in podcast world as well. So jump over to the Frequency Conscious Dating Events page to get all the details. You would have also seen, if you have been following along, that the very next Anatomy of Pleasure workshop that I'm hosting in person here on Brisbane's north side will be happening at the Barn in Brendale. So the Barn is a brand new adult kink BDSM role play space. It is state of the art. It is absolutely phenomenal, and they've put a beautiful indoor beer garden in their space, so you can arrive, chill, relax, talk, mingle there, separate to moving into the barn and into the adult play space. So the Anatomy of Pleasure workshops are going to be hosted there. So we're going to use that indoor beer garden to have a really beautiful 2-hour content focused journey through the Anatomy of Pleasure workshop that I do. And then the last hour of our time together will be dedicated to opening up the barn door and walking inside and just seeing what's it like to be in a space where there's dildos on the wall and there's a sex machine in the corner and the bed is purposely made for bondage and impact play. What is it like to look at the St. Andrew's Cross? Maybe you bring a friend with you and you have a little laugh as you kind of tie each other up. So the Anatomy of Pleasure workshop that I'm running there at the Barn is going to be content focused first and then curious exploring after. But we're not playing. We're just walking around, looking, touching, trying, but just in a really curious, lighthearted way. And it's a really beautiful invitation for your central nervous system to arrive in a space like that, especially if it's brand new to you. Maybe you have a lot of internal dialogue around what it means to be in a space like that, but you've never been there. So you get to come into a space where you truly don't have any information yet about how it feels to be in that space, to arrive and to notice in the inner thoughts, the inner feelings, the nervousness, the excitement. And just notice it all. Just go on the journey of observing what comes alive within you when you walk into a space like that. And it might encourage you to want to lean further in, or it might be all the information you need to go, this isn't for me. So that's what we're doing there at the Barn on the 16th of July. Tonight, for the Thirsty Thursday conversation, I wanted to jump on and share a little recent experience that I have had with pegging my partner. So for those of you who don't know what pegging is, that is the use of a strap-on and a dildo on somebody who doesn't have the penetrative anatomy that a biological male would have, and using a dildo to mirror that penetrative play. So it's called pegging. So it's still one dildo into a hole of some sort. And so this experience I had with my partner was really interesting from my perspective. I am somebody who loves sensory experiences. I love to see, smell, touch, taste. I use that sensory awareness to keep myself really connected to my embodied consent. Sensory experiences keep me being informed of my sense of safety within myself, within the environment, within the relationship dynamic, within all the different parts that are happening around me. My sensory experiences feed me this constant safety information, which feeds into my consent, right? So that each moment is this revisit of, yes, I'm leaning into this. Yes, I'm leaning into this. Or hang on, I've reached an edge. I need to pause. Or maybe I've reached a hard no. So when the role was flipped and I was the one pegging my partner, it wasn't my anatomy involved in this experience. I didn't have sensory awareness of depth, of friction, of enough lubrication, of that sense of space within space. I had no physical sensory awareness of this experience beyond visually seeing my partner obviously go through the journey of receiving that pegging, of having, different levels of comfort and pleasure move through their body. I just had their sounds, their facial expressions, and their communication. So I really became aware that in the absence of sensory awareness of the unspoken communication, I had to actually lean more into the spoken communication. And even though it was an experience that didn't bring my body more alive and excited, and the pleasure was not something that I was experiencing from a physical perspective, it actually brought a different layer of intimacy into the relationship, because one, the power had changed. So I was the one pegging. So I was the one in the action sequence of the giving, of the doing, and my partner was in the taking and the receiving. And because I had no sensory awareness, like it was a dildo that was being used, it wasn't any part of my anatomy. So I couldn't sense anything. I couldn't feel contractions. I couldn't feel lubrication. I couldn't feel anything. So to fill that void of understanding, the actual communication, the voice, the spoken communication needed to be more actively present in the space. And because of that, and because it was new and it was outside of our norm, and it kind of brought us back to a place of like that place of a first time or a new beginning, we had to use communication. So it meant that my partner had to be really aware of where their yeses and their nos were. They had to be really clear in communicating that. And I had to, even though I was in the role of like giving, I actually had to receive communication. I had to receive instruction. I had to receive their trust, right? So it not only switched the action dynamic of who's giving and who's receiving, but it also switched the dynamic of who is holding the dominant, nurturing, caring energy, and who is who's holding that space of vulnerability, but really being really clear with, how they're feeling in that vulnerability, where their edges are, and directing. One person is the doing and one person is the directing, as opposed to just kind of laying there and take it. So with safety and trust guiding the whole experience, and there was no sensory awareness on my part, leaning into the spoken communication to really guide my role in that experience. So it was really, really interesting. And yeah, so far it's only been a one-time experience, but we are curious to do it a couple more times. Different positions, different types of lubes, definitely the feedback was more lube. Also, in terms of stimulating the male prostate, the dildo that we used didn't quite do that for him. So it was really interesting. It was really good feedback. But I wanted to share that experience because for me, who loves I love sensory experiences. I love the way the experiences communicate with me through all the different layers of sensory awareness. And I teach that in my Art of Arousal workshops. We go through the different senses: smell, taste, touch, all the different pleasure pathways that are activated in the body through those sensory arousal processes. And so to be in an experience where it was completely void of everything I love and I teach in terms of the sensory arousal, it really forced me to lean into the dynamics that I know play into consent, safety, and trust. And so it was a really beautiful experience. And so I wanted to share that with you guys. And I want to invite you, if you've got curious questions about this experience, if you have had an experience, if you've got some really good tips to give as well, around toys, around lube, positions, please let us know. Please let me know, because it's definitely something that I will be doing again and again. And each time, different position, different toy, different products, whatever. So I'd love to lean into the collective sensual genius that's in this space as well. So please, 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 please share. But other than that, I just want to leave it there. I just wanted to have that share. There will be more information on that experience and my takeaways and conversation around it on an upcoming podcast. So once that's live, I will drop it into this space as well. And just a reminder to you guys, if you have just popped on now, that if you're local to me in Brisbane and you love everything that I teach, and you've been meaning to get along to the signature Anatomy of Female Pleasure workshop, it's happening live at the Barn, which is an adult play space, BDM space, happening live there on the 16th of July from 7 till 10 p.m. We'll just be having a content-focused conversation around around pleasure, and then having a curious walkthrough of the BDSM space. So I look forward to seeing you guys soon, or reading your questions below. Bye for now.